Welcome to Where There's a Wills.
There's a play.
My name's Ian.
I'm Stacey.
I'm your mid-complexity casual gamer.
I am your non-gamer gamer.
All right. And today we're here with another initial impressions for a game that we just learned. And that game was on both of our top 10 lists, or our 5 and dime the other day. Harmonies. Harmonies is a token placing game, a drafting game where you are trying to draft um, different tokens that are represent habitats and fill in um, animals, and then place animals in them. So we're going to go through our initial impressions for this and talk about some different aspects of the game, starting with the rule book. So what do you think about the rule book?
Well, I haven't really looked at the rule book that much. But we went over it. You read it, quite thoroughly. That was pretty easy to understand. It tells you exactly in what order everything needs to be done. It doesn't talk down to you like you're an idiot. So I appreciated that. Um, I think it explains everything pretty well. It shows you examples of what you, oh my gosh, I can't get my left and right figured out here. Shows you examples of what you can do and what you can't do, has little X's through what you shouldn't be doing. I thought it was very thorough.
Yeah.
I liked the rule book.
Yeah, we since we really got into the gaming hobby, we've been doing watching a lot of videos, and so this is actually the second game in a row following Gnome Hollow that we decided, okay, we're just gonna look at the rule book. I think I may have seen a little bit about this when it was first coming out. One thing I really like about rule books is when they give you player aids on the back. I do like player aid cards, but with this game, just a very simple player aid on the back. I do like the diagram here of exactly how you can stack things. So I did like that. It was very concise, like I said, very small rule book. Not a ton of rules, and we didn't even need all of it yet because we have not looked at some components of it, and which we'll talk about later. But the rule book very clear, very concise, very simple and straightforward to go.
Understand.
Yep. Now on to the setup. The setup for this game, sorry, this is a little grainy here. Let's see if I can, there we go. We got our green screen thing over here, and it kind of likes to play tricks after I do something on it. The setup to this game was very simple. You put all the tokens in a bag. You place your central board in the middle. And then you place 4 animal cards, which we'll talk about. Here's the backs of the animal cards. We'll look at those in a little bit here. Up, and then each person takes their player board, and you choose which side your player board is on, either the river side or the island side. So the setup for this game was very minimal. This will be a quick one. This one I see becoming
a nice evening game,
a potential weeknight game. Real quick setup, just get the stuff out. I mean, this 5 minutes. If that. I mean, and that was the first time. So like, I mean, yeah, basically all you're doing is handing a couple things out, and I think the thing that takes the longest is placing the tokens onto the central board, probably. So yeah, setup is very minimal in this one. So we really like that about this game. It's going to be one that we can play at night, which we are looking forward to doing more. Now on to the components of the game. What do you like? What do you think about the components of this game?
I think one of my favorite things is the tokens. I like how they are chunky and they're very sturdy. So they're pretty easy to grab onto, place if you need to with some people's hands, with arthritis and things like that. I think it would be better for those people to be able to manipulate those and to move them around. So I really like that. And I also like the play boards. The play boards are nice and sturdy. They're thick. I don't think there's a big chance of, them getting bent or, the corners starting to get torn up or anything like that. They're pretty durable. So I also like that as well. But My favorite
Hold off
aspect.
on that. That's next.
Oh,
That's next.
that's
Okay.
next.
I agree with the
Hmm.
components. I will say she was going to talk about some things on the cards, but I will say the cards. So I'll agree with her. I love these chunky tokens. These chunky tokens are really nice. I mean, really thick, which is good because you do have to stack them in the game. And I think having to stack things that were much thinner than that would be hard to grab and stuff. But the card quality, I don't want to show the other side of the cards quite yet. That's what we're going to get to next. The card quality is nice. They're a decent thickness. I don't see them bending at all. So the card quality is nice. They got these nice little see-through cubes that you're using for different things. Like I said, the board's nice and thick, but it's not too thick. Good quality of that. The central board's the same thickness. So yeah, I think the components of this game are really nice. They're gonna hold up, especially with our game collection and just the two of us really playing. This will hold up for quite some time. So that was the game components. And moving on to the artwork, and this is where Stacy was going, so I will let you have the lead on this one.
The artwork is amazing.
Yes, these cards are gorgeous.
There's the best one of all of them right there. Otters.
Can you guess what her favorite animal is?
Otters. And just the animal and the details in these cards are just absolutely amazing. I really enjoyed flipping them over and seeing what card was coming next. Each card has the scoring points on them, which isn't as exciting as the artwork, but you can see that up in the corners as well. That's our dog.
Yeah.
We're going to say that's our
We,
dog
we,
right there.
we have an American Eskimo, and every time we see a white fox, we just call that the Sitka card because his name is Sitka. So, yep, that is the Sitka card. So it's always nice when we see a white fox in a game, an Arctic fox. Sorry, not a white fox, an Arctic fox in a game. But just some gorgeous artwork.
I won with that one.
Yep, you had that one. Just beautiful artwork.
But the tokens you collect actually have to do with the card and how those animals would be in that habitat. So
we'll get into that in a little
we'll
bit.
get into that.
But yeah, the artwork alone. And then one thing we didn't get to play too much. Well, going back to the tokens. The tokens have very simple art on them, which I like. I don't want this to be have too much on it. It's just very nice little symbols, so you can see what they are. One thing we didn't play with yet is, and we'll talk about this a little more in the gameplay as well, is the what is it called? They are the nature spirits cards, and the artwork on these is even, I mean, just as good if not better. I mean, you got some really gorgeous art here. So some really cool backgrounds. So the artwork in this game is just stunning. Good artwork in games will draw us in quite a bit at our gaming style. And then the gameplay, it has to go hand in hand with the gameplay, but artwork is definitely a drawing point in this. So, I mean, and the boards, I like that the boards don't have a ton of stuff on it. That it's very simple and straightforward. This is called the riverside because you got like this dried riverbed and you can make rivers on it. And this is the island side because the board is in the middle of the water. I do like that part is downplayed a little bit because sometimes too much art on what you're playing on can get a little distracting.
Very distracting sometimes.
Yeah, that is the artwork. Moving on to the gameplay of the game. I thought this game was pretty straightforward. You draw 3 tokens. I keep on calling them tiles, but they're tokens. You draw 3 tokens. You have to place all 3 of them on your board. Some of them can stack, some of them don't. And when you match this orientation, including this has to be 2 of the building ones on top of each other. Well, actually, the top building one can be on a brown, a green. What is it? A brown, a brown, a gray, or a red. So it could be on top of another building, basically a tree trunk or a mountain. You score. You take one of these tokens off, and you score them. pretty simple, straightforward. Um, we'll talk about strategy in a little bit,
Yeah.
but as far as how you play the game, it was really pretty straightforward.
It's pretty easy to learn.
Pretty easy to learn.
For me anyway.
And it was, yeah, it was. I mean, there wasn't you take three tokens. It's got so this board you have three tokens on each one. So very Azul like
Mm-hmm.
with the drafting, except for you're taking everything that's on there, not just one color. So it has that kind of component where you're just drafting tokens off of it and placing it on your board. So that part of the game is very Azul like, and we love Azul. Azul is one of our favorite games. Has been for some time. Probably in both our top 20, 30 games that we own. Um, and so it's very, very simple gameplay, very easy to understand that part of the gameplay and placing the tokens. Um, I think the part that did get confusing will come a little bit in the strategy part, but when you're trying to place them in certain orientations, but you're also trying to figure out how can I use this more than once. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the strategy. But I thought the actual gameplay of it was pretty simple.
Yeah, yeah. Um, hmm, I don't know how to add to that, but yeah. For a gamer or non-gamer such as myself, I found it easy to understand. Is even when reading the rule book, it was pretty straightforward. Um, Not a lot of questions came out of it. We had a couple that we had, but we just opened up the rule book and it was easily solved by the rule book.
Yeah.
So we had to go back to that a couple times just to clarify some information, but it was in the book. We didn't have to go anywhere and ask anybody for anything.
No.
So it was pretty straightforward. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, so that is the gameplay. Like I said, the gameplay very simple, straightforward. You grab three tokens and you put them on your board, and you're trying to make the different orientations of things. All right, next on to the scoring. The scoring is where
Lacked.
well, we didn't lack. We were just focused on one thing in our first play. We were focused on this scoring. So the way you score these is every time you make this and can place a token. So I guess one thing we should have said in the gameplay is you can only place a token if it's on an unoccupied space. So I can't like put more than one token on this thing. So I would have to have another red tower somewhere in order to place another token. Every time you do it, though, you take a token off from the bottom up. At the end of the game, your scoring is simply based on what your highest number is. So if I clear all three of them, I get 12 or 17. If I get two of them, I get 10. If I only clear one of these, I get 5. So the scoring, that part is what we were mostly focused on. We kind of completely ignored the second part of the scoring, completely forgot about it till the end. Which in our first gameplay, I think we just wanted to get the game down, and we figured, okay, we'll see how that scores at the end. And that is this scoring, and this is how you actually score your habitats. So you are scoring the animals and the habitats, and at the end we realize the scoring on this. But now that we know that, I think going forward we can go, okay, I need to have this and this. So like the fields, you need to have two fields next to each other. But if you have four fields, it's still considered one field. So you want them connected, but every group of two, you get 5 points. I happen to have like a group of 6, but it only counted as one field, so I only got 5 points. Stacy kind of got a little lucky with one of her. She had several cards that needed buildings, and she had 3 of these at the end, which gave her 15 points. I kind of had the same with the trees. I had a lot with trees. I wasn't really paying attention to this, but I had several trees that were this tall, and I got 18 points off of trees total because I had lots of trees. And then Stacy had the one clarification she was talking about earlier was the water and just how to score that. We weren't quite sure exactly what a path was, but then we looked at like, oh, that one doesn't count. So it was she had 5 instead of like 7 because it would have overlapped on each other. But I mean, the scoring was pretty straightforward on things. The cards were easy to understand.
Yeah.
The cards, which is what we were focused on.
If you're not good at math, get a calculator.
Yeah. The cards is what we were focused on, the animal cards. And that was pretty straightforward. We kind of we kind of forgot totally about this, the habitats until late, and we're like, oh yeah, we're gonna score those. We won't worry about it. We'll just see how we score them. One thing I forgot to mention in the gameplay was on your player boards, you've got 4 spots up top. You can reserve 4 animal cards up here. So like on your turn, one of your optional things is to actually like take an animal card, and you can have 4 up there, and you have them up there until you clear everything. So like this animal card only has 2. Once I clear those, I move that to the side. I can get another animal card. So that was one thing I forgot to mention, um, in the gameplay part of it. But that was, pretty simple with the gameplay and the scoring. I think
Mm-hmm.
the scoring now makes sense. I think, like I said, the animal cards made sense.
I don't usually score. You're the scorer of the family.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And nice next game, I think we will understand this a little bit more. The one thing that I had was I had all sorts of mountains, but I didn't have them next to each other, so none of them scored any points because if your mountain ranges aren't next to each other, they're worth 0. So, but like I said, and that keeps on. There we go. Um, we didn't even think about that as we were playing because I think we were just trying to get the gameplay down. But now that we know, okay, the gameplay pretty straightforward. This scoring card with the habitats, I think we'll understand that a little bit more and maybe be able to plan that out a little bit more. Um, it's something that I can see myself very overthinking, and Stacey will just play and end up with stuff and go be like, "Oh look, I win." So it kind of happens with
That's
games like
kind of
this.
works.
I will try and I will guarantee you that I will try and plan this out way too much and seeing what cards are coming, and she'll just kind of end up with stuff and be like, "Okay,
Well, like my river, I had,
yeah,
if you get a river, the shortest distance of your river is counted
yeah,
as points.
yeah."
I accidentally got
Five,
7 in a
five.
row, but
Well,
it only
5 because
counted
2.
as
Yeah,
5.
yeah, yeah. Because a couple of them overlapped on each other.
Yeah. So that was accidental, but it came out to actually probably help me win.
Yeah.
So
So, all
it
right. So
worked.
the scoring is pretty straightforward. It's not very hard to understand the scoring, so I liked it. We just kind of completely forgot about the scoring of the habitats, but now that we know, that'll be something that we can
We'll
kind of
work
build
on.
into our thing. So that is the scoring. Now we're going to go into a game comparison. And I just realized we might need to flip these 2 next sections because this one probably should be after the next section, in the future. This was a new game to Stacy. She hadn't really heard anything about it until yesterday when we did our live 5 and dime. To me, I think the common term with this one, has been, it's a Cascadia killer. Cascadia is one of our favorite games. Honestly, other than the fact that you are making habitats and putting animals in habitats, it
It's
doesn't feel anything like Cascadia.
mm-mm.
Like,
I think you can enjoy both games equally
I
and
did,
not have to compare them because they have different ways that you have to get
yeah,
to
like,
the end game.
yeah,
You don't
the gameplay is not really the same at all.
no.
I see. I mean, I think people are saying Cascadia. The term Cascadia killer was being thrown around. I think simply because you are making habitats and putting animals in habitats, but in this, you're drafting tokens like you do in a Zool, and then you have to place a cube onto a certain token in order to actually place the animal in a habitat. But some of those tokens can be used for more than one habitat. Whereas in a Zool, you're doing what is called intertwined, I believe it's intertwined drafting, where you're drafting a habitat tile and an animal at the same time and figuring out where you want to place those.
You said Azul.
Did I say Zool? I meant
Yeah.
Cascadia, sorry. In Cascadia. You're doing intertwined drafting. You're taking an habitat tile and a animal token that you have to place. You have to take 2 things at once, and you're placing those, and you can't use a habitat more than once. So I mean, I guess because of the habitats and placing animals in habitats, people are saying it's a Cascadia killer,
Hmm.
but it doesn't play anything like
Mm-mm.
Cascadia. So I don't personally get the comparison. I think it's got some Azul in it with the drafting.
Mm-hmm.
It's got some Cascadia in it with the theme of the animals and the habitats. And the stacking of the tokens. I don't think we have anything. I can't think of anything we have like that where we're stacking tokens up and claiming stuff. So, I
Mm-mm.
mean, it's a little bit of Azul, a little bit of Cascadia, and probably some other things we haven't played. But as far as being a Cascadia killer, definitely not.
Not in our house,
Not in our
anyway.
house. Oh, they're two completely different games. They don't play the same at all. Like they're not the same game. So in our household, these are going to both stay. These are games that are both going to be games that are good ones. What do you think about the Cascadia Harmonies comparison that was kind of thrown out there on the internet about things?
Yeah, for me, I had no clue that that was even a thing that you could say a game's going to be killed because a new game version or whatever you want to call it came out. So I didn't know that existed. So to me, as a non-gamer gamer, I liked both games. I enjoy Cascadia. I love Cascadia. But this game could probably move up a little bit. At first, it was a little trying for me because again, if you've watched anything, you know I'm not a very spatial person, and you have to kind of figure out. You don't have a starting point on your board to start. You just kind of put your tiles on, and then you build your habitat around it, and you can go on any part of your board, and then you have to kind of plan where it's all going to meet up so that you can finish your cards. For me, that's the hard part, is trying to figure out where to place my tile, or they're not tiles, my
Tokens.
tokens, where to put my tokens on the board, um, so that it can eventually meet up to meet something else. And if the colors aren't on your little token board, it doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah.
So sometimes good luck is the only way to play, I think. And if
But as you explained that kind of has the Cascadia feel. I
yeah,
guess trying to figure out what orientation here it's your habitat tiles, but also your tokens, your habitat tokens. So the token part is kind of a similarity because you got to try and figure out the orientation you want to score the things. So that
yeah,
that part kind of, now that you mentioned that, now that you talked about that, that does kind of have that Cascadia
a little
feel
bit,
to it, little bit, you know. But
but yeah.
as far as the comparison, I don't
In my
see.
opinion, I don't see it, but I
No,
see it.
there's like I said, there's little bits of different things in it, but
Yeah,
they're not the same game.
they're both enjoyable.
Yeah, so they're both enjoyable. All right, moving on to our next section. Moving on to our final thoughts of the game. You go first.
Okay, I like this game. Little bit more than I thought that I would. I like the components of the game. I love the artwork. I love that it's easy to understand and that the playbook is, right on track of what you need to do. Easy to look back and see what you need to do. Um, the one thing that it's not even a big deal, but the one thing that I would change if I could is the tokens are a little slick. So they were, sliding all over the place. But I think with play that will ease up a little bit. They'll probably get a little bit more not
Yeah,
as shiny.
they're really smooth. They are really smooth tokens.
Yeah, but
Um,
that's my only complaint, really.
so if your hands are
Um,
slippery, they do
yeah,
kind of slip out a little
you
bit.
might want to put some lotion on before playing.
I
It'll
think that made
stick
it
a little bit.
worse.
I don't know. I don't know. But I like the game. I think we'll keep it.
Yeah, I think this one, once we do a big call, I think this one's going to be a keeper.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this one played very quick, even in our first game. So this one, I can see we've talked about, trying to get some games together that we can, as weeknight games. So like 2 or 3 nights a week, we can play like 1 to 3 games or something, quick after work once my volleyball season's over and I'm getting home quick. This one is going to be on that list. It's I mean, the setup and stuff, it takes like 5 minutes. The longest part is putting the tokens onto that main board. Other than that, you just get everything out. It's all in a bag already, so it's a really quick setup. Um, yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I love the thinkiness of it. I love trying to figure out, okay, wait, which token parts or which habitats I can use um, for more than one scoring card,
Mm-hmm.
because you can place more than one animal cube at a time, but the problem is a lot of and this goes into a strategy that we which will be a section we'll probably add into this. One of the big strategies we learned is, as you're taking your animal cards, you want to make sure you don't have too many animal cards that have the same habitat type that you're going to put a cube on. Stacy ended up with like 3 of her 4 that she was working on. They all needed a water, and that was the thing that needed. So you couldn't score it for all of them, because once you put a animal cube on one of them, you you couldn't use it
You're
for any of the
done.
other ones. So, and then the other thing was taking animal cards you can that you have to stack stuff, because then it takes less space.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you have somewhere you have to stack, then you can start taking tokens that you're stacking instead of placing and filling up your board quicker. Um, but yeah, I love this game already. It's I'm excited to try the spirit animal cards. I'm excited to try this solo. It's gonna be a great one for us to play 2 player. So this one is any game that she enjoys as much as I do, that I can also play solo. It's great because we'll play it together, but then I can also get it out solo if I want something quick and she's not into doesn't want to play a game or whatever at the time, or she's doing some of her crafts that she does. You know, like I can get this one out as a solo game real quick. So love this game, a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. If you like Cascadia, I highly recommend it. And if you like the Azul drafting mechanism, if you like drafting games, I highly recommend it. Um, it's a lot of fun. It's slightly heavier on BGG than Cascadia, but I don't see like it's minimal. It's minimal. Cascadia is a 1.85. This is a 1.96. So, but I think this one's a keeper.
Mm-hmm.
This one is another keeper. Like I said, anything that we enjoy playing together, that she enjoys playing, is going to be high on the list of keeping. And then if I can play it solo and we can get some variability with things, I think we're gonna actually probably
Yeah.
get it played here again right away. Just to get it, just to get another game in, especially
Keep it fresh.
now that we understand things, and then probably get another one played before we head to dinner this evening. So
Yes. The one thing that I would say is that if you are a heavy gamer and you're playing with somebody like me who just likes to play purely for fun and play fun, easy games, to please be patient. Because if you're playing with somebody who's not spatially aware, it may take a while and you're going to have a little
yeah,
bit of downtime while they try and figure out what they're going to do. One of the things that I would recommend, and I don't know if Ian would recommend this or not. I don't think I
I know.
told you. One thing that I would recommend to like non-gamer gamers is not to have as many cards in front of you, because
Mm-hmm.
then you start to overthink everything. But if you have the cards in front of you and each one has a different
Habitat.
habitat that you have to put your cubes on, it may be easier for you, because then,
So here,
yeah, so there we go.
so this animal cube needs to go onto a water. This one onto a field. This one onto a building.
So that's less for you to think about. Thank you. Less for you to think about, and just try and focus on what the task is at hand that's sitting in front of you rather than trying to get more cards in front of you. But try and focus on that. And if someone's having a hard time trying to spatially figure it out, just give them a hand. Just give a little option, or just be kind.
Yeah, and that's like I know Stacy kind of sometimes shows. So I'll be like, oh, if you can do this, for me, it's just the quality time together doing something else. And so it's a lot of fun. So what she was talking about is like, so the cool thing about this is this one needs to be on a mountain, but I can still, well, I guess
Mm-hmm.
that's not a very good example because these ones are stacked. Let me get, oh, this one right here. Even though this needs to be on a mountain, I can still use like these 2 mountains. I could put a water next to this and then put a water there. And then I could use those waters or that water to for this. So the only thing you can't do is put more than one of these cubes on a tower. So you can use these things to help you get around, but you also need to know like this one needs to score 3 times. So you got to be careful like with how much you're doing around it.
Yeah.
So um,
I should have mentioned that earlier, but I completely forgot about that. So
no,
I
that's
apologize.
no. So yeah.
But if there's anything that you can change, what would you change, if anything?
After one play, I'm not sure there's anything I would change. I really like everything about this game. Like I said, it's right in that middle weight for me. You know that it's almost a 2. I'm like a 3 and under is where I really like things. But for a game like this, it's exactly where I need it to be. There's enough for me to think about. For me trying to like kind of strategize or overthink as usually tends to be the case, especially now that we'll be paying attention. I'll be paying attention to the habitat tiles as well. A lot of times I overthink things. But I do like being able to go, okay, well, can I use this thing for more than once? And like we were playing, I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to use that. I thought I was. So just trying to just figure all that stuff out. Just a lot of fun.
It'll come. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right. So if you guys have any thoughts on harmonies, please leave us a comment down below on what you think about the game.
And if you think we explained something incorrectly, please let us know so we can play it.
If you like this video and want to see more of our videos, please hit that subscribe button up above, and you can see our other initial impressions videos after our first plays of games right there. Once again, this has been Where There's a Wills.
There's a play.
My name's Ian,
I'm Stacey.
and we'll see you next time
at the table.